I am so excited that you are here to read the Book of Mormon with me. We are on day 13, chapter 9 of a 259 chapter project. And today's reading is 1 Nephi chapter 9. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading that in just a moment, but hang with me till the end because I've got a really great quote I want to share with you about seeing the Book of Mormon through the lens of classic world literature. Let's go ahead and get started. So 1 Nephi chapter 9, we're on page 16 if you're following along in the paper copy. Again, see links in the description if you want to see a digital copy that you can download as well. So here's the little chapter summary. Nephi makes two sets of records. Each is called the Plates of Nephi. The larger plates contain a secular history. The smaller ones deal primarily with sacred things, about 600 to 592 BC. And of course, if you've been following along, you know the adventures leading up to this. I'm not going to fill you in on all of that, but this is kind of like a little pause between other adventures. He's just stopping to talk about his record-keeping process. So he's just telling us about what he's up to with the writing that he's doing. So verse 1, and all these things did my father see and hear and speak, as he dwelt in a tent in the valley of Lemuel, and also a great many more things which cannot be written upon these plates. So he was just in the act of summarizing what his father had just been preaching, his father the prophet. In the last chapter, he'd written all about what his father had said. And now he's continuing on, verse 2. And now, as I have spoken concerning these plates, behold, they are not the plates upon which I make a full account of the history of my people. For the plates upon which I make a full account of my people, I have given the name of Nephi. Wherefore they're called the plates of Nephi, after mine own name. And these plates are also called the plates of Nephi. So he is saying he has two sets of plates that he's making. And when I'm saying plates, they're like ancient books made out of metal, because that's what the Book of Mormon was translated from. So one of the writers, Nephi, is just telling us that he has two different books that he's writing, two different sets of plates, and that the one we're reading from is from one of those sets. Verse 3, nevertheless, I have received a commandment of the Lord that I should make these plates for the special purpose that there should be an account engraven of the ministry of my people. So he's saying on these plates that we're reading from, he is being told to write about the ministry. So basically the spiritual aspects of the history that he's going to be writing. And that again is the part we're reading, which is the spiritual stuff. Verse 4, upon the other plates should be engraven an account of the reign of the kings and the wars and contentions of my people. Wherefore these plates are for the more part of the ministry, and the other plates are for the more part of the reign of the kings and the wars and contentions of my people. So the second set of plates is more of a social, political history of the people, kings and wars, and what the people are up to outside of religious concepts. So one is all about the religion stuff, and one is all about socio-political history. Verse 5. Wherefore the Lord hath commanded me to make these plates for a wise purpose in him, which purpose I know not. But the Lord knoweth all things from the beginning, wherefore he prepareth a way to accomplish all his works among the children of men. For behold, he hath all power, and unto the fulfilling of his words, and thus it is. Amen. So these last two verses are a correct principle that as Latter-day Saints we believe is a principle that can guide our life, because again we use the teachings in this book to help guide our lives. So one of the things it says here is that the Lord has told me to make these plates for a wise purpose that I know not. So he's willing to follow God's commandment to make the plates that he's writing, and he doesn't know all the reasons. So obviously we're benefiting from it, but he doesn't know all the reasons why he's doing that. And that definitely comes up in our lives when we are, feel prompted or guided to do something, or, have a premonition, or we just know it would be wise, but we're not really sure how it's going to work out. We can have faith that if there's something good that we know we need to do, that there probably is going to be a good reason for that. And I know even just on kind of a smaller scale level, I'm a therapist and I work with teenagers a lot. And a lot of times I'll be talking with teenagers and they'll say, my mom or dad is telling me to get good grades, but I just do not understand how that applies to me, because honestly, I don't think I'm going to go to college or whatever. whatever. It can be all kinds of different things. And so it can even be on such a smaller scale like that, where, maybe later in life, you're going to see that the good advice you were given of how to live your very best version of your life probably was a good thing to pay attention to. So, and in this last verse, the Lord knoweth all things from the beginning, wherefore he prepareth a way to accomplish all his works among the children of men. He hath all power unto the fulfilling of his words. That's another correct principle, that the Lord knows everything that's going on. We don't always know. So if we put our faith in him, he will guide us, and that's a whole lot better to put our faith in someone that does know everything that's going to happen, instead of us when we really have a very limited point of view. In a lot of ways, us, even though maybe we're an adult, we are still like a child compared to God, because he knows everything. So, all right, I promised you a really great quote on the Book of Mormon as world literature. So I'm going to pull that up here. And this comes from an essay written from a series called Book of Mormon Central. And they obviously talk a lot about the Book of Mormon. And it's an essay called Why is the Book of Mormon a Classic? So I'm just going to read this little excerpt from this essay. With the important exception of a number of converts, early reactions to the Book of Mormon were almost universally negative. So when the Book of Mormon was first translated, the people who believed it and joined the church, they were 2 thumbs up to the Book of Mormon. And then a lot of other people were reacting very negatively. Especially in the press, it says, so the people giving the book reviews. One contemporary paper dismissed the Book of Mormon as a bungling and stupid production. The author sneered, "We have no hesitation in saying the whole system is erroneous. There is no redeeming feature in the whole scheme, nothing to commend it to a thinking mind." Today, however, one finds a much different attitude towards the Book of Mormon by most readers. It is now widely recognized as a classic work of great religious, historical, and literary value. But what exactly is a classic? While it's true that the answer to this question is debated, typically a classic is defined as any work of literature, music, drama, or art that has lasting and universal appeal, first-rate creative or aesthetic quality, profound insight into the deepest realities of the human condition, and otherwise generates thoughtful reflection throughout the lives of those who interact with the work in question. And I would say for sure, the Book of Mormon generates huge amounts of thoughtful reflection throughout the lives of those who interact with this work. One might qualify the Book of Mormon as a classic by looking at the number of respectable presses that have published the book. This includes Yale University Press, the University of Illinois Press, Doubleday, and Penguin Books. The latter, and don't worry, I'm almost done, but I just think this is so interesting. The latter is especially noteworthy, which is Penguin Books. For more than 65 years, Penguin has been the leading publisher of classic world literature in the English-speaking world, providing readers with a global bookshelf of the best works throughout history and across genres and disciplines. The value and significance of titles published under the Penguin imprint is incalculable, and their loss or destruction would diminish us all. So this essay goes on and on, talking about how the Book of Mormon is easily defensible as a book of classic world literature. And again, I'll put the link in the description if you want to review that. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're just loving learning about the Book of Mormon, enjoying these great adventures from First Nephi, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.